Good morning and welcome back to Elle's Messages of Light, and it's day 2 of my crystal should I say series, or crystals of the day I'm calling this. I wanted to post one crystal a day, as downloads was coming in, that it will help some people out there, and that this is what my channel's about. So anything I post, it's all to do with the downloads I receive from Spirit, and if it reaches one person, that's brilliant. If it reaches 100 people, that's amazing. That's what it's meant to do. So yeah, today's crystal is bumblebee Jasper, and this crystal works with the 2nd and the 3rd chakras. Now that's your sacral chakra, and your sacral chakra is your sexual identity and your standing in your identity. And the 3rd chakra is the solar plexus, and the solar plexus is the state of power, determination, will, drive, and it is very energizing to these 2 chakras, very energizing. And this crystal can also release you from any blocks that may be holding you back, to manifesting your purpose, and to putting you on your path to your destiny. So it can release any of those blocks, and set you on your true path, what's destined for you. And this crystal can increase your determination. It can help you overcome major obstacles and bring in persistence of overcoming these obstacles. And bumblebee gives you courage, gives you stamina, and it brings in more concentration, to not sway away from your goals. Otherwise you might detour from them, but bumblebee can bring you straight back into alignment with your goals and set you on the correct path. It can also help raise the Kundalini energies above the first 3 chakras. So, the Kundalini energy, I'll talk a little bit about this because I've experienced it on my connection, my twin flame connection. Soul connection, spiritual awakening. It was right at the beginning of my awakening that I started to realise I was experiencing, I could feel energy. I'd not felt energy before, prior to feeling it. When you start feeling energy in your body, you can't mistake it. You can't ignore it. You feel something moving in your body. And then I started to feel other people's energies. Now I've always been sensitive, but I started to realise this as I was very empathic. I changed that word from sensitive to empathic. Because I was just feeling things more. I was seeing things more clearer as well, and that spiritual door was opening up for me. But what I do realise now is I'd gradually been on this path of raising my Kundalini. I'd done yoga for 20 years, on and off, but it was becoming a daily practice. For many, many years it had been a daily practice, so it was constant. I started to realise, well, I look back now, and I know that my Kundalini was rising very, very slowly through my chakras, and it was working through them blocks blocks that I had inside my body. It starts from the Kundalini, first of all, is a powerful, creative life force energy. It's associated with Shakti, the goddess Shakti, the divine feminine. And yeah, the Kundalini, it's the most powerful creative force you will ever awaken in yourself. Anybody, will ever awaken in themselves. And it's laid dormant, and it's also described as a coiled serpent, that snake. That's why when people think about the Kundalini, it's associated with, the snake, the coiled serpent. And that slowly rises once something triggers this dormant energy to awaken. Then it starts its descent on your chakras, and it's the middle part of your body. It's the central line of your body. So it works up from your root chakra. So it's awakened from the root chakra, and that's at the base of your spine. So you'll start feeling, me personally, I start feeling lower back pain. As it was working through all the blocks down there, and then it would rise to sacral, and I could get digestion issues. It resurfaces old illnesses too. I realised there was a big resurface of an old illness, but I realised it was because it was clearing it out. So it didn't much. It did bother me, obviously, but it didn't concern me. It wasn't as bad as the previous digestion issues I was having. But yeah, I realised I was cleansing and purifying. My body was, this powerful force inside was working its way up my chakras to purify and cleanse and unblock all the blockages of my energy centres. So yeah, then it slowly starts its descent up the chakras, and its destination is to get to the crown chakra. And once there, that's where you open up to union, consciousness. That's where spirit, your knowing of the universe, of otherworldly things becomes into view. It starts, you are fully open to full union consciousness once it's at the crown. But what triggered mine was you may have heard me talk about my soul connection in this lifetime. What triggered mine was remembering. I was being awakened to remembering I had a soul connection in this lifetime. That had been asleep too, and it because of all the blocks inside me. So once the Kundalini started rising, then so did the remembrance of my twin flame connection started coming online too. Not instantly, that came after. It had risen. That's when my past lives and things started to come back into my view. So yeah, the Kundalini, it's an awakener of it's awakening you to your true self, and my body at that point was ready to be awakened. It was cleansed, and your body has to be at a state of it's not fully purified or cleansed, but it has to be at a state where the Kundalini can awaken, at least, and at that point my diet was really, my diet had to be healthy, very, very healthy. I'd purified my body, my mind through yoga. So yeah, my body was at that state of my Kundalini wanted to awaken, and also my connection to my soul, my soul connection, I believe, was the trigger of it. the separation, triggered the awakening of, you know, my remembrance of my soul connection. I wouldn't say it triggered the Kundalini, because I believe the Kundalini had been rising slowly through my chakras for many years. But it got to a point where it escalated and was moving faster through the chakras, each merge with my, you know, my twin flame. So yeah, it's a very powerful creative force. And I say creative because that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to paint, I wanted to draw, I wanted to bake. Anything creative was coming out of me. I was finding more creative gifts by the day. You know, lost spiritual gifts that were started to resurface. I started to make candles, crystal candles, you know, start my own business. The creative force, when they say it's the most creative life force you will ever awaken, that's an understatement. My body literally it was going through such energetic shifts, different things daily, you know, different things by the hour. You know, I couldn't sit down. I was, you know, exhausted, but I couldn't sit down. I just wanted to create. I would get electric shocks going through my body. I would get ringing in my ears. I would get cold spots, hot spots. So many things. I would feel so disorientated, like I wasn't, you know, on earth. I was sort of more in the 5D at that point, until I learned how to, you know, stabilise this powerful energy. And I learned how to stabilise this energy by grounding, because I realised that I didn't have the balance. I needed a balance of the two. I needed to, yes, if this was my path and my destiny, Spirit, you know, wanted me to be a channel for, you know, to set me on the path to destiny, yes. But I couldn't spend all my time in the 5D, you know. I had a normal life and family to look after and other commitments. But I also knew that this was my path. I was not getting off this path. I knew once this Kundalini had awakened and all the spiritual knowing started flooding back, you know, into my view, I knew this trajectory was not going to change. Spirit wanted me on this trajectory, and you know, my life was going to forever change. As a person, I was going to forever change. I realised I needed to ground, because this energy was so powerful. It was so disorientating. I could not function daily. You know, I didn't like being in crowds, noises, loud noises. I was so sensitised to everything. I got food sensitivities. I would break out in allergies, you know, rashes. My body was purging, purifying. So I recognised this as the purification stage. And I understood what was going on, you know. So, you know, I didn't go to any doctors with a ringing in my ears or the digestion issues, because I understood I was going through a major spiritual awakening, and I knew it was the Kundalini awakening, but it was also connected to, you know, my soul's destiny. So I didn't go to the doctors. I'm not saying that anybody with these symptoms shouldn't. You should always go to a doctor. Me personally, I knew I was going through a spiritual awakening because of the outer circumstances that was happening in my life too. There was a lot more, especially with my soul connection happening. You know, it was all coinciding with each other. All these circumstances. So, you know, I knew, and it's a knowing. Your soul knows it. You know, so there's been many times in my life I've gone to the doctors, hundreds of times, you know, with my illnesses and stuff. But this time around, I knew it was different, you know, and it's a knowing, you know. So yeah, the Kundalini for me was, my Kundalini awakening was horrendous, very destabilising, very disorientating, very painful. My body was in pain daily for over a year and a half, with different pains. You know, yeah, so I knew I had to ground it. I knew I had to stabilise this energy, and you know, this till this day I ground. You know, I ground daily. That's I still do yoga. I do, you know, Kundalini yoga, but I ground all the time. I make sure that is the most you know, important part of my practice, is to ground this powerful energy, because I still have the Kundalini surging through me. I've just stabilised it, and that is the key. You've got to stabilise this powerful energy. It's getting that that grounding in, you know. But yeah, this crystal can help raise the Kundalini energy above, you know, those first three chakras. You know, and physically it can offer support to your intestines and your liver and your kidneys. And emotionally it can help you reach beyond your fears, and it can bring in, you know, confidence. And spiritually it can bring in creative ideas. Just as I've been talking about, all I wanted to do was create. That was because the powerful Kundalini energy is the creative force. It's the creative life force in us all. Not everybody will awaken it in their lifetime. It's quite rare to awaken, and usually you have to awaken your Kundalini in the with a guru, you know, at your side. Mine awakens spontaneously through all the spiritual practices and through, you know, my soul connection. So it was meant to awaken inside me. Now I'm through it and I've stabilised this energy. I'm very grateful for it. It's helped me create a beautiful business. I create candles, vegan soy wax candles, and I combine them with crystals, you know, energy. I infuse that with Reiki, and it's helped me create a beautiful business that helps others, you know. So I'm really grateful for this Kundalini energy now. But yeah, and you know, spiritually, that you know, it opens you up to your spiritual path, and it opens you up to more possibilities. You know, then you can manifest your dreams more easily. And you know, this crystal I bought from a little shop in Puerto Rico while I was on a cruise ship holiday. We stopped at Puerto Rico, and you know, I'd been looking for bumblebee Jasper for quite a while, you know, and I came across this crystal. Yeah, then they say that crystals find you, and that's so true, because you know, right at the beginning of my crystal discovery journey, shall I say, I just used to want to buy crystals for the sake of buying crystals, you know, so you can have a collection going. But as you get on this journey and you start working with crystals more, and you understand the powerful energies and the benefits that they hold for us, you understand that crystals find you, you know, that they're meant to find you. They're not, you know, that every crystal I find now, yeah, it finds me. You know when a crystal's for you, you're drawn to it. Yeah, so it's like this crystal, the angelite. This was the last crystal I talked about. That I found that in the Lake District shop. Well, I'd never heard of angelite. I'd never seen such beautiful crystal, to be quite honest, and it just shone out of, you know, this shelf, and at that time I was experiencing signs that the angels was trying to communicate with me, shall I say, but at that time I was dismissing it, because I was having a lot going on with the Kundalini energy. I was, you know, my body, my mind, everything was shifting. I was moving into this more higher consciousness state, should I say, but everything was going on around me, physically, mentally, emotionally. It was just a bit too much, you know. This Kundalini energy was a bit much at this stage, and you know, my soul connection was just a bit too much. I was trying to absorb all these changes, these major shifts changing in myself and in my life. It was changing. You know, when you start making shifts in your body starts feeling energetic shifts, and you're going through some major energetic shifts, it starts creating shifts in your daily life with the people around you, relationships. It starts affecting everything. It ripples out to everything. And this crystal came into my view in the Lake District, and it, you know, it brought the angels right online for me. It brought that communication in that was blocked for me, because I was still doubting it at that point, should I say, that the angels was trying to communicate, you know. But 7 years down my path now, and you know, all the healing and everything I've been through with this path, and I communicate with angels, let's just say. They're very, very real. They are around us. All you have to do is call them in. You know, this was one of my first angelic crystals. But yeah, bumblebee was the crystal of today. And you know, if you follow me, my channel's quite different, I think. You know, it's unique, and that's what I hope, you know, people will take from it. And yeah, when the channeling starts coming through, I just go with what Spirit wants me to talk about. And you know, Kundalini energy is one of the stages of I won't say one of the stages, because it was the early stage of my spiritual awakening, was the Kundalini awakening. But like I say, I think it was 7 years back my awakening came online fully. But I look back now, and the Kundalini had been rising many years before through my chakras. It just took healing, and it took time to break through them blockages, and that's what Kundalini does. It busts through all them blockages, you know, in your chakras. It opens you up to amazing things in your life once you stabilise this energy. And yeah, so I shall leave it there. And like I say, Spirit takes me on you know, different channeling can come through, and you know, yes, my you know, I could be talking about this crystal, but ultimately Spirit wants me to get the message across about Kundalini, you see. So it's all about my path, it's all about my experiences, it's all about my spiritual knowledge. So you know, it might seem a bit jumps from one to the other, but I understand why. So this crystal, although it's bumblebee Jasper and it's crystal of the day, the true message is the Kundalini. So you know, and anybody who's experiencing the Kundalini, this message is for. But yeah, ground, Spirit saying ground. It's so important to stabilise this powerful creative life force. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I will speak to you all soon. Thank you. Bye.